The spin. This transition is not practical, but it is fun. Yeah, that's it. So pretty cheesy, even if it's not showing the frame edges. I've seen this used a lot to animate newspapers into the frame. I have no idea where this started, but it's so overdone by now that it's become a joke. You may have seen a custom version of a full-frame spin transition used in the 1960s Batman TV show. And maybe this transition should stay in the 1960s. As the transition is fast-paced and exciting to watch, the video effects can add value to any social media video to grab your viewer's attention and stop the scroll. Shut up. As with many transitions, it is possible to use this one in a way that looks decent. For this video, I used it a few times and made it less extreme by not spinning very far and using more blur than spin. So it was basically just a more interesting blur transition. Where to get it? The New Blue spin transition has barely any spin to it, with the maximum of 100 being not nearly enough. Worse, there's no option to mirror the edges, which is absolutely necessary for this transition to be done right. All you can do is use one of the two sources as the background, or a blend, or nothing at all. Not recommended. Maxon Universe does not have it. Boris FX Continuum's BCC plus Spin Blur Dissolve is perfect for full screen transitions, because it has the mirror edges option, and it's checked on by default. This transition has all the options you could possibly need. It looks and functions the best, even better than anything from Film Impact. Film Impact's radial blur transition is limited on the amount of spin, but not as badly as New Blue. You can change the direction and speed, but only from -100 to 100, which turns out to be not very much. As usual, you can change the amount of blurriness, maxing out at 100, but here's something interesting that I noticed. The center has almost no blur, while the edges are so blurry, they lose almost all detail. Compare that to the Boris FX version, which maintains a very consistent and aesthetically pleasing sort of a blur across the entire frame. So instead, let's use Film Impact's motion camera, which, when set up correctly, is the closest you can get to Continuum's Spin Blur Dissolve. I used these settings, the most important one being a spin of 2x0, or 2 times. You can also try 2x180, which is 2.5 times. And you better believe I mirrored those frame edges. Here's what that looks like. And here it is compared to Boris FX, which I still think is slightly better looking because it's purpose-built. Film Impact's 3D spin transition is absolute cheesy garbage, whether it's used full screen, on the head, tail, or between two clips, or on a graphic with transparency. And the Surprise Me randomizer is helpful for generating a few zany ideas of what else you can do with this thing. I don't recommend it, and I've never used it. New Blue's 3D Flyaway is similar to this, but it's mostly presets based and doesn't have any control over the spin at all. Lame. Finally, we get to Film Impact's Spin Motion. This transition is intended to be used on smaller objects, not the full screen. And for that, I think it works great. This is the spin-based transition that I've used the most. You have all the customization options you could need. And as usual, this transition is aware of the center of opacity, meaning you usually don't have to set up the center yourself. However, while you can change the center point used for scale and position, you cannot currently change the center of spin. This is why the motion effect has separate parameters for position and anchor point. The Film Impact spin motion transition does not. So that sucks, but I only noticed this issue while editing this tutorial. Then I sent them an email with all the technical details, which you can pause to read. So this might get fixed later. The spin motion is kind of an interesting alternative to the pop transition. Because it's moving a lot more, it also attracts more attention. You can even change the dolly parameter to make objects spin away from the camera instead of towards it, which is the default. How to make it yourself. probably not worth making yourself. You'd have to mirror all the edges in After Effects so that you don't cut your own resolution in half, or I guess you could use multiple layers of nested sequences and then apply different stuff to each one, but at that point it's probably worth just buying one of those transition packs so that you don't have to. You just watched one chapter from a longer transitions tutorial, which you can also watch right now for free from the link below, or just click this little thingy on screen right now. The tutorial covers nearly every useful transition and every transitions vendor. I'll see you there.